G'day friends, welcome to today's video, and I've got a super fun project to share with you, and all you really need is some scraps and a photocopier. But I'll get to that in a second. I want to tell you where the idea came from. Last year I got into making a few zines, and that's because I'd seen Ali Brown make one and I was absolutely taken with hers, so I thought, better do it, better try it, and I really loved it. And what I loved most about it when I found out this was kind of the reason they're made in this format is that you can just, since they're made on a standard sheet of paper, you could photocopy them when you wanted to distribute them, which was, you know, very punk, very 80s. And so I really enjoyed that, and I thought, what else could I photocopy to kind of, you know, distribute or to make something out of? Now, I wasn't looking to create any new products. Honestly, I was just looking for a fun new project to try because I'm obsessed with my photocopier. If you don't know, I am always using my printer. I've said it a million times already, but I'll say it again. It's the Canon PIXMA MX922. I think they run for about $100 on Amazon. It's a great printer because it's a printer, a scanner, a fax, and a photocopier. You don't really need the fax, I'm sure. Like, I don't know if anyone still uses fax, but the rest of the features are really super amazing. It does Wi-Fi as well, and the ink tanks are all separate. So if you're ever looking to buy a printer, make sure you buy ink tanks that are separated, because when you run out of one, you can just replace that one instead of having to replace the whole thing altogether, because there's always a color you're gonna run out more of. If you love reproducing things in pink, you're always gonna run out of magenta first. So you don't wanna have to buy a whole, you know, full ink cartridge just because you run out of the magenta. So I would always recommend to buy one with separate ink tanks. I think this printer is absolutely incredible. I've had this one for over a year now, but I actually had this same model back in Australia that was 4 years old and it still works perfectly. I think 4 years old, maybe 3. But yeah, incredible printer. So I thought, what could I photocopy? And I've got scraps everywhere. I'm always looking for a way to destash them, to get them used up. And but sometimes I don't like to commit to a certain thing. Like if I've got a scrap that I kind of enjoy, I don't want to just use it and then not be able to use it again. So I've always suggested to you guys that if you have like maybe my fragments packets, or you're looking to finish a journal page but you just don't know what to do, to photocopy it first, just to play around with it and make sure you have a backup. Anyway, I thought, well, what if I assembled all these scraps? What if I collaged them all together and photocopy it? And to be honest, I didn't really know what I could do with it, but I just thought, that way, I wouldn't have to commit to this being a whole thing, and I could rearrange it in any way I want and technically make whatever I want out of it. So, the first thing that I came up with was probably super obvious, is postcards. Now, I haven't done anything on the back of these, but this you can see is simply come from this sheet being photocopied. Now this doesn't even, I just put this in. Like I just put it into the photocopier, slipped it under there. This is all taped on, so you can technically take this all off. I used washi tape as well because it's much more gentle, and it's also another great way to use your washi tape and get it into more of your projects. So now I've got this scrap. It's not actually a scrap. This is the original drawing for one of the Swatch dolls that made it into the fragments packet. So sneak peek. But yeah, I've got these little bits and pieces. I can put this on another page. I could simply reassemble it in a different way. I like even put on this sticker sheet because I never used these stickers, and I thought, at least in this way I'll be using it. So, you know, you could technically reassemble this and put it back through the photocopier. You could get a million different variations of the same thing. My goodness, I just heard my voice and it sounds like I'm doing an infomercial. You could do a million different versions of the same thing, basically. So I've got a few examples here because I couldn't help myself. It was actually really fun. Here's one I made with some vintage stuff. So we've got some typewriter, some like onion skin with typewriter on it. This is a vintage paper. This was a postcard that I got that I actually really loved. So I wouldn't want to use that, but I love the image on it and the size was perfect to put her face in the little peephole. Now I'll actually show you because I have a ton of these little postcards here. This one I actually reduced. I kind of shrunk it in the photocopier, and you can do on this printer specifically, you can reduce the size by like 50%, 75%. You can also increase the size if you want to blow up your photocopies. You can do, so I think this was about 60% that I chose to zoom it down, so you can see totally, you know, different scale, but it's still got all the elements on there, and I've just made a tip in that I can throw in my journal if I want to. It could be a postcard as well. This is quite thin cardstock because I was just playing around, but I would use thicker cardstock if I wanted to send it as a postcard. But you can see like her little face. When it presses against the flatbed in the photocopier, it will pick up that detail from even underneath. And I just think it's such a fun way to get these like unexpected results. And one of my favorite things about it as well is that if I tried to put all of this in a journal, it's just gonna bulk it up. I mean, this on one page would just do nightmares for your journal. But if you put this one piece in, and this is on cardstock, cardstock, so it's a little bit thicker, but you could do it on paper as well. Putting this in will not bulk it up nearly as much as this. So if you're a collage artist that just really wants to get more of your collage into your journals without cracking the spine, I think this is one of the most perfect things to do, and it also doubles up the amount that you can use certain collage pieces, because I know there's all stuff that we favor, and you know, you don't want to use it once and then never have it again. Another fun thing that I did with this one specifically, and you can see, I mean, this is a die cut that's just stuck in there. There's lots of washi tape everywhere. This from an old calendar, this postcard. You can see these stickers. I love these Tim Holtz like little story stickers, so I just wanted to get them in there. It was all kind of built off a color palette. I actually covered one of my traveler's notebooks in it, which I think is a really fun thing to do as well. So you can see this is simply been photocopied onto some paper. This is that thin cardstock. It's the Nina Bright White. It's the very regular cardstock, but I've just simply photocopied it and then covered my journal. I've covered another journal in one as well. I covered this journal right here, and what's even better about it is that if you wanted to create like a whole thing, if you wanted to have a whole thing going on, there's no reason why you couldn't just, you know, create a whole spread of stuff. Here you can see this is a postcard that I've made from this particular copy. You can see that this part's come from over here. So, I mean, you can kind of place these back together. I put these stickers on it after the fact because I wanted to make sure that I knew it was my journal. But you can totally see where this whole thing has come from, and the amount of postcards you can kind of get out of one spread. And the best part is they're so simple to do, and it's kind of addictive. That's why I ended up making so many samples. I've also printed some in black and white. So, you know, this is done on a cream piece of paper, which I don't love for when I'm trying to color things in, because I think it can show the color a bit weird, but photocopying it on black and white, now I can color it true to color, and I just think it's fun. I mean, now you've created these like fun little collage coloring sheets as well, and there's no reason why you couldn't create a bunch of these. Because they're photocopied, just press, you know, 10 copies, and you know, once they're all cut out and corner rounded, send them off to your friends, and you can, I don't know, it's just kind of like an ephemera swap, but you don't actually have to lose any of your good stuff. This one here is fun because I've taken different parts from different places. You can see that this has been folded over on the photocopy flatbed, so it's actually picked up, folded over on here, and that's what I kind of love as well. You can kind of see slight shadows and dimension between the layers, but like I said, this is not going to bulk up your journal at all because it's one piece of paper. And I love that this is all on one, just one big piece of paper that I wasn't really using for anything, but I actually got a few different variations. Like, you wouldn't necessarily think these were from the same set, but they totally are. Just depends on how you decide to crop it is what you're going to end up with. I should say, when you've got the copy, when you're cropping all the stuff, don't even throw away the excess bits. So these are like little scraps from the photocopy, and what I did with this one is take all the scraps and simply you know, washi tape them together, and it created its own kind of collage, which was really, really interesting as well. So that's where this came from. I've put down lots of these post-its and little writing areas so that if I should want to write a message on there or have something a bit more legible, that there'd be a place to put it. So I think if you've got a lot of post-it notes and a lot of little journal cards and stuff like that, Project Life cards are great for this as well. I think adding some of that on over the, you know, the craziness of the background just gives somewhere for your eye to land if you do want to write on it. Even have these ones here. These ones I think are my favorite. They were made from this. So I had this big old ink background from an Inktober video, and there's a lot of layers on this, you can see, and there's like staples and fragments, bits. Oh, she's gone. Stickers. You can see here, this is one of the offcuts. Remember I was saying, don't throw away the offcuts that you get from your photocopy, because you can put them back into your collage. So this one came from the photocopy of this example. So, I mean, it's basically just recycling and reusing over and over and over again until you get just the most fantastic results. And don't be afraid to use your washi, old invitations, old book papers, anything that you have lying around. Honestly, it's going to work. So I've actually shrunk this one down as well because I wanted it to fit nicer on this little postcard format, and I've taken it this way and shrunk it down a little bit as well, just because I found this is a bit too big. But that's the great thing about that printer, is you can shrink it. I mean, other things you can do is just straight up make a page. I mean, if you want to collage it and just make it, that's just fine too. I think that's super artistic. I really love this postcard tag too, so it's fun. Anyway, so I'm gonna walk you through it step by step, and we're gonna collage something together fantastic. We're gonna photocopy it, cut it up a bunch of times, and make a few things with it, and hopefully it will encourage you to get all those scraps out. I mean, these are the scraps we're working with today. I'm just gonna move some of these samples. Here's some small scraps. Here's some serviettes. medium-sized scrap. She's from the washi tape. Large-scale scraps and illustrations that I can use. Uncolored fragments. Colored fragments and bits and pieces. This is the ephemera that usually lives on my desk, and I've got a little bag of post-it notes and stuff that I can put on the top. We've got lots of stickers. I mean, we could even throw paper clips in there if we wanted to. Whatever we want to photocopy and reproduce in some kind of artistic way, we're going to try and put it inside the photocopier. So let's go. Alright, so collage. Now, collage is something that you honestly can't do wrong. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Everyone's going to do it a little bit different, and everyone's going to have a different method to their madness. But essentially, I find that sometimes people get overwhelmed by the look of it, because it can be quite hectic. And for people that like a lot of order and a lot of structure to their creativity, collage can be one of those things that I think you might stray away from. But if I may, I'll just bring it back to a very, very simple kind of understanding. It's kind of like a Russian nesting doll. If you think of it that way, it actually makes a lot of sense. If you're kind of struggling to start, you know what I mean? Like, most people aren't going to feel this way, but if you just need a bit of encouragement, I would just think of it as a Russian nesting doll. You know how they're big, and then inside there you peel back a layer and they get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's how I like to approach the elements that I put onto the page. I kind of want to start with something big. So in this case, I'll choose a background. I chose an illustration. On other times, I'll just choose a painted piece of paper. I'll keep it around US letter size because that's what I'm going to end up printing. I'm going to end up photocopying onto a US letter size, so I don't feel the need to make anything bigger than that. But if you did, you could always make it bigger and then change the orientation inside the photocopier and get a lot more done, a lot more bang for your buck. But, so I would start with the background, and then what I'm going to do then is pick, you know, mid-range pieces, things that are kind of, you know, they'll fit on the page, but they won't overwhelm the page. Then I'm going to pick my smaller bits and pieces, you know, little heads, little stamps, little sticker things, and little fragment pieces, ephemera dolls, and all that kind of good stuff, maybe even little photos. And then what I'm going to put right on the end are like tiny things, like little sticker, little bits of washi tape, you know, little stamps, anything I could think of. I might even put a paper clip on there because these collages are not going to last forever. These are just temporary because we're going to photocopy them, then take it all apart. You might want to put it back together again and try it again. Or you might just want to keep all those bits and pieces for another project, which is what I like about this. You know, none of this was glued down. It was all either washi tape together or used a bit of scotch tape. It was a bit of gift wrap tape. It's actually kind of matte, so it won't reflect when it's in your photocopier. So it kind of becomes invisible in there. Just a quick tip if you're going to use some scotch tape. But you can see this is actually Steve's. I got Steve in here to do it, and he only took 15 minutes to put his together. So I thought it was pretty amazing. And just to show you that honestly, like, Steve doesn't collage. Steve doesn't do any of this stuff. He rarely sits down to do anything, you know, artistic in the sense like creative arts. He's obviously an amazing photographer and he has a lot of creativity, but as far as like art journaling, you know, he won't sit down and do a mixed media piece. So it was quite funny to see him do this. And he was working in that kind of Russian nesting doll way. He had his bigger pieces down first, then he was looking for all his mid-range pieces, then he started putting in his smaller bits, making sure that he was washi taping it all down, and then he put on the, you know, the really tiny details in the end, which for him was just a lot of washi tape and that little songbird at the top. But you could always put little word stickers, you could put, I mean, anything, honestly, anything you can put into your photocopier. I'll say this much, it has to be on a flatbed photocopier. Please, please, please do not feed this through a document feeder, because all those pieces will just detach and go flying around your printer. You'll have the worst printer jam, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So only on a flatbed photocopier. You know, the one where you would stick your face in and like photocopy it that way. If you can't put your face on the photocopy platform, it's the wrong one. So hopefully that clears up any confusion. But here are our two finished pieces, and now I'm going to take them to the printer and I'm going to photocopy them. You can change the settings on this printer, and I find that, you know, for this particular project, I don't need anything super clear. It does a great job as it is, but I kind of wanted one black and white, kind of wanted one like very high quality printed, and then I kind of wanted just like a random one just to cut up and play around with. So here I've got the three samples underneath, the three photocopies, and I've actually got the original on top. So you can see, I mean, if you just pressed times 10 copies, you'd be left with a ton of stuff. You could just ship them straight out to your friends and let them cut them up, or you could just keep them on hand for whatever. I think they're great for so many different things, but we're going to get into a few today. And obviously your brain's going to take you into more imaginative and creative places. I actually found that it was really addictive, and once I started, I couldn't stop making them. I made so many in one night that I was like, this is a bit much. I mean, now I've made an absolute mess. But what I think I found that I love them the most for, other than postcards, which is very obvious, is covering my books. This little traveler's notebook is specifically a collage book for me. I only collage in this one. So I thought, since this is a collage project, why not? So appropriate, right? I actually put it on super wonky. I'm using Tombow mono adhesive tape runner, which is very, very strong. I haven't had any problem with any of these covers coming off, and I've used this before with a much heavier cardstock on a cover. Now when I'm coming up against the spine, I want that tape glue to be close to the spine on both sides, and I really want to take my time to like edge that paper on, because the spine is probably one of the most difficult places to keep it adhered to. So I would just take my time with that, make sure I'm really pressing it down firm, and then simply slice off all the edges, and you're left with a really nicely covered traveler's notebook. You could do it on another book as long as it would fit. If you have access to an A3 photocopier, I mean, you're gold. Like, you are good to go with any kind of project you want, but as it is, I only have that A4 US letter size. Just putting little word stickers on the front just to finish it up. Now, if you're someone that likes to put plastic adhesive on the front, like the plastic covering to keep it all protected, this is also great for you as well, because when you collage those pieces on top, generally you have a lot of bubbling and it's hard to get the contact to lay flat. But because this collage is already flat, you're not going to have a problem with that at all. So just something to keep in mind if you do love to cover a lot of your journals. This is a great option for you. Next, we are going to look at creating the postcards with it. Now, I mean, honestly, this is so simple. It's ridiculous that I'm even taking the time to explain it. But I made a little frame because I like to see what my little postcard is actually going to look like before I cut it out. And then I trace around it with a stencil just to see what's in frame, what's in focus, see how I might want to align something properly. You don't need to do this at all. You could just go in balls to the wall and just start cutting like a maniac, but this is something that I do get a little bit pedantic about. At the end of the day, if you do notice that you maybe wanted to crop it a different way, the best part is just hit the photocopy button one more time. Hit me, baby, one more time, and you'll have another one to play with. So that's what I like about this as well. I mean, you're kind of just, I'm at a loss to try and figure out a way this could go wrong for you. I think it's kind of like a fail-safe. Now I've got this little corner rounder. Honestly, don't remember which one it was. It's just from Amazon. It was very, very cheap, but it works like a dream. I've got a corner rounder because I just love rounded corners. I just think it looks very elegant. I mean, I go in and out of phases, but I'm back on. I've got the red Miniso, that Australian accent came out just then. I've got the alcohol marker. I could use Copic markers for this, honestly, any kind of marker. I just like to go around the edges because I think it grounds it a little bit, especially if I've got some negative space around the edges. I do like to just hit that up. And if you do it in this certain way, I don't know how to really explain this, but you can kind of catch the edge with your marker, and you can kind of just drag it along and it won't slip or slide around. Sometimes I have made big mistakes, but if you've, especially with those chisel tips, you can kind of make a really good line with that. So just making some postcards. Now, here is what I wanted to show you too that's really fun. I'm just showing you how these little bits and pieces fit back onto the copy, so you know that they are truly from the photocopy. But also, I've got lots of scraps. I've got little bits that I cut off when I was getting the postcards. Now, don't throw those away because they're good for a couple of different things. I actually like to tape them back all together and make another collage out of that. So it's like a collage of a collage. I know it's very meta, but this is one of the most simple ways to get a really interesting effect. And especially if you have kind of themed it a little bit, like that Disney one, it just, I mean, you could never plan that stuff out. Honestly, I don't think you could. If you can, then your brain works in some crazy way that I would love to explore. But yeah, I think it's a really fun way to like recycle your way into something new. So whilst that was photocopying, I was making a few extra postcards, and now I'm going back in with my frame to see which orientation I like, whether I wanted a vertical one or a horizontal one. I think for the most part, I do lots of these horizontal postcards. but I think vertical ones are good too if you're going to end up tipping these into your journals. And just a side note, if you do want to tip these into your journals, just take note of what dimensions you're cutting things out at, because you could have cut out like 20 4x6s and then realized that they all hang out the edge of your journal, which is not a problem, but you know, preempt the problem if you've got a special plan for it. And then this one, printing in black and white, this is kind of what I wanted to show you. You can just pull out one accent and suddenly it becomes a totally different feeling, a totally different look. That little postcard in black and white up there looks very different to the one that's right next to it, but they're from the same sheet. So just wanted to show you that example. And here you can see these are the original collages. Steve's is on the left, mine's on the right, just to show you that literally anyone can do it. Steve, I think, had a blast doing it. I know he was proud of his samples, so that was good. That's the collaged one. And I'm just showing you, we've got a book cover, we've got a bunch of postcards. You could honestly keep going, seriously. And wait, there's more. I've got this big old sketch planner. I'm doing a black and white week in my planner, so I had that one collage sheet and I thought, you know what, this would just cover an entire page. Sweet, I'm done. I don't have to decorate for the rest of the week. Although I might catch the urge to go and like pull out certain colorful accents, which is good too because it's on a cardstock, so my alcohol markers won't bleed through to the next week. So tons of little bonuses everywhere. You can see all the elements on that collage. Imagine how much that would have bulked up my sketch planner. So really happy to have that. Do not throw away the scraps, like I said, but wait, there's more. You can just put little corners into your journals. You can use just tiny little collage pieces just to spice up a blank page. I know a lot of us have that phobia of the expansive white space of a blank page. All of this stuff can be reused and recycled, and it's so funny because when you take all the collage bits, I made a little pocket for my Swatch dolls. When you take all the bits off the original collage, you're like, oh, I didn't actually use anything. It's wild. They're all photocopies. So, you know, technically you've made more junk, but you've still got access to all your favorite stuff. So, you know, you've got your decorations, you've got your book covers, you've got your ephemera, you've got your tip-ins, you've got your postcards, you've got anything you can think of. Just grab all of your junk and a photocopier. I think you'll be amazed at how addictive it could become. So resist the urge to make too many copies, because honestly you're going to be left with so many things. I don't even have enough friends to send those postcards to, but I'm sure they'll make a nice little feature on my mood board. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone. I really hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, bye.